All right, guys. MTD yard machine, 3-in-1, chipper, shredder, all that stuff, vacuum. Buddy of mine got this. Guy I work with, $100, which is a good price. Guy said it needed a carb cleaning. It would only start when he sprayed it. You can see it has the factory spark plug in it. Still has the black paint on it. That's never been changed. So this guy never did anything with it. So I'm going to give it a good tune for him and clean out the carburetor and get it going. But one thing I wanted to mention was this guy here, the owner who had it, lost the original hardware for it. And right here, you want something that's easily removable in that top hole so that you can fold the handle, put it in your trunk, and then bring it with you. He had a screw with a nut on it, and that's a pain because who has wrenches with them all the time? Nobody. So what I did was I found some carriage bolts, which is correct, because you can see the square hole in there for a carriage bolt. So I inserted a carriage bolt, and I have plastic wing nuts. I had a black one and a white one just laying around with the right thread, 1/4-20. And I used one on that side, and I have one for this side I'm going to put on there. Push it in. Where are you? Hold it in. Let's get this wing nut started. It's going to be tough to do with one hand, guys, but let's see if I can do it. Hey, there we go. All right, so we screw this in. Once it starts, it'll pull it in nice and tight. Now this way, the owner can take this off, no tools required. He could pull it out, he can fold up the handle, he could fold this part of it in half and have it nice and compact for his trunk. RTS, guys, I believe in RTS, return to stock. If you're in doubt, go to the illustrated parts list on the internet, find out what was in those holes and see what you have. I keep a lot of extra hardware. Whenever I see old mowers that are getting scrapped out, I remove all the hardware, especially stuff like these knobs, the carriage bolts with the little bends in them, the curved washers, all that stuff. I just did that on a Toro thrower. If you saw my video, he was missing one of these. He actually had electrical tape holding it on. I went to my dealer. I bought the knob and the curved screw. The whole thing was about $5. I had the curved washer. So for $5, make it the way it's supposed to be. RTS, guys, return to stock. So this one here, like I said, it only ran on fuel squirted into the carb or starter fluid. It's never been checked. It's never been serviced. It's got the original plug in. It probably has the original air filter. So I'm going to take this thing apart, get it going, and we'll be right back and show you what we're doing. All right, guys. My favorite engine, Briggs Quantum, probably one of the best engines they ever made, except for Tecumseh Snow King engines. This is a close second. Looks like the guy, because it's a black painted spark plug, never did any maintenance on this, at least with the spark plug. Let's see if he did anything with the air filter. I doubt it. Let's see. Oh boy. Yeah, just as I suspected. Holy cow. Yeah, I don't think he did anything with the air filter. What do you think, guys? Yeah, I don't think so. It's a factory. It's got the factory number on it. So that's going in the trash. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take off that air box. We're going to look at the jet on the carburetor. We're going to see if hopefully it's just the jet needs cleaning. If the jet just needs cleaning and it starts, well, then we're set. I'll put a spark plug in it. I'll change the oil. I'll change the air filter, and we'll be good to go. So let me get that going. I'll be back in a few minutes. Well, guys, it's a good thing that this didn't start for the original owner, because when I took the dipstick out, there was basically no oil in the darn thing. It's way below level. So good thing it didn't start. If it did start, probably would have blown up. So it's good that he brought it to me. So it looks like we're going to do air filter, spark plug, oil change, carburetor clean, and get them going. It'll be a little more money than the standard carburetor clean I told him, but you know what? Quantum engine, it'll last forever. I think he'll be happy. All right. Let's see if the woodpecker comes back. He actually was trying to peck on my house a while back. The holes that secure the shutters onto my house are there because I have the shutters off for painting. He saw a hole, and like any woodpecker, when you see a hole, you think there's something in there. A worm, an ant, something. So anytime a woodpecker sees a hole in your siding, he's like, dinner. Well, it wasn't dinner. I was sitting in my bedroom one day here, blah, 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 sounded like someone put a jackhammer into my house. Well, it was just the woodpecker. So, if you ever hear banging on your house, run outside, because chances are it's a woodpecker. And when woodpeckers are pecking on a hole, most of the time there's something in there. So make sure you don't have ants or any of that stuff, you know? So, let's see what we got here with this carburetor. Now this one here, manual choke. It's got the cover on the top, so you have to take the top cover off as well. 2 screws for the cover. You don't see too many manual chokes anymore. You see them on pressure washers have them. And there's manual chokes, but you don't see them too much on lawnmowers and things. Usually they're auto chokes now. Alright, so that's off. Air cleaner falls right off. Take out the breather. Alright. Standard quantum, everybody's favorite. The gasket's a little, that's not too bad. It's not torn or anything, so I can keep that on there. But what I'm going to do, I have to grab, oh, look at this. Here's something, guys. Somebody worked on this before. You can always tell when someone works on something. Look at the fuel line. See that green hose clamp down there? That's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be on the carburetor. So someone was in there playing. Didn't know what they were doing, but they were playing. So, all right. So I guess it's something that I gotta have to correct someone else's mistake. So let's see what we'll do. We'll get a fuel shutoff. We'll clamp the fuel shutoff, and then we'll take off the 1/2-inch bowl nut. Let's see what the jet looks like. You hear that? More customers are dinging my phone. Now what I use, I do have fuel pump clamp pliers. I do, and they're fine. But sometimes the fuel pump clamp pliers lose their tension sometimes and leak. Just a cheap pair of vice grips. These are actually Companion. This is the cheap brand you see at Sears, Companion brand, but it works. So go on there. I'm going to change this fuel line anyway because it looks kind of cracked and everything. It's the original fuel line. So what I'll do is I'll clamp it, I'll take it off, and I'll replace it. So, all right, so now look at that. It's all cracked and brittle, and good idea to change it. Fuel line is cheap, might as well change it. While you're at it, get all the leaves and garbage out of the linkages so your governor works correctly. And look at this governor. Gosh, it's all full of oil and grime and grease, and who knows? This guy looks like he never did anything with this engine. All right, let me grab a 1/2-inch socket. We'll grab a 1/2-inch socket. Another good reason to have a magnetic tray. See what comes out of this thing. See what drips out. Maybe nothing, who knows? Oh, there we go. It's dripping out pretty clean. Let's let it drip for a second. And we got a little bit of water in there. I see water. So it's never been off, probably, knowing this guy. There's water in there, a little bit of dirt. There we go. We'll drain it completely. And we'll see what we have. Alright, there's some water, some other stuff in there too. Mostly looks like water. Oh yeah. We got water, we got jellied fuel. And the bowl nut. Well, it's not clogged, but when you have stuff like this in your carburetor with water and jellied fuel and all that in there, oh, where is it? There it is. You got water, you got jellied fuel, you got a bunch of dirt, tons of water. Look at that, the big puddle of water in there, the amber puddle of water. So you got a big puddle of water. That's why it would only run and shut off. It was sucking water. So hopefully I'll get away with a simple clean the jet, let some clean fuel run out of there, put a new fuel line on, and go to town. I hope so. Yeah, you can see after I drained it out, there's water droplet in there, there's a water droplet in the bottom, and there's all kinds of schmutz in there. So I'm gonna clean that up. Now this one here, just give it a good wipe. See, there's still some corroded stuff in there, so I'm going to put a little carb cleaner in there with a piece of Scotch-Brite and clean that out. This camera keeps saying low battery, then it wants to shut me down. I don't know if it keeps running or not, but I think it's keeping running. So I use Advance Auto CarQuest brake cleaner. It goes on sale twice a year, 2 for 1. So you get 2 cans for about $2.50, a real good bargain. So we'll spray a little bit of the carb cleaner, actually parts cleaner, in there. Scotch-Brite. Let the Scotch-Brite absorb the cleaner. And this is an aluminum bowl, so you got schmutz in there. You don't have rust. It's actually old fuel. So let's get this thing clean. Okay. Let's flush it out. Good as new, nice and clean. Wash the outside. The outside was clean. Okay, so that's done. Now the jet. Jet actually looks pretty clean. I'll put a wire through it, but what I like to do is take a brass brush and go along and make sure it's clean. So let me grab a brass brush and do that. When you guys go to the tractor shows or whatever during the year, pick up brass brushes when you see them. They're cheap. You can get them for about 50 cents. And the brass won't screw up brass. So you can clean all the schmutz off the threads. Let's make sure we have fuel flow. Watch your eyes, guys, too. Watch your eyes. Yep, it was coming out the holes. I'm still gonna stick a wire through it just to make sure. So I whip out my two-stroke toolbox. I have all kinds of tools in this. This is all my toolbox I use for working on two-strokes. And in that two-stroke toolbox is the wire cleaners. So let's pick something that looks close. See what we got. These are like little files. Actually, you get them free sometimes when you buy carb tools. Use the real little one. There we go. The little one goes through. Yep. So, yep, it's free. All right, let's throw this sucker back together. But first, what I'm going to do, I'm going to let a little fuel drain out of the tank, because I don't know how old the fuel was in the tank. I know we put some fresh stuff in, but let's drain out some more. Oh, look at that, guys. Wow, that's nasty. You know what? I'm going to get rid of that fuel. Look at that, all the water and everything else. So, whenever you get a machine, you don't know how long the fuel's been in there. Look at all that water in there, guys. Holy moly. It looks like it's 3/4 water. This tank is getting drained. Oh my gosh. Never ever trust what someone has in their fuel tank. I'm gonna take the camera off so I can show you guys. Look at that. That was just from what was in the hose. No wonder this thing didn't run. It's got tons of water in it. I'm gonna take the hose off. I'm gonna drain everything out of the fuel tank. I'm gonna blow it out and clean it out and get that going. Man, look at that. Tons of stuff. All right, we'll be back. Now we're going to see if Mr. Funnel really works. Those of you who have seen my videos know I'm a big proponent of Mr. Funnel. So I'm going to take the gas tank off this machine. The gas tank on the MTD, which is full of water, tons of water. You saw it in the video. And I'm going to use Mr. Funnel to get all the water out of it, hopefully, and see if I can salvage the fuel that's in here. Now, of course, I got it on something that's not flat, and that's going to be a pain in the butt for me, but oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. Okay, there we go. All right, open up the fuel tank, my Mr. Funnel. All right, takes the water out. Let's see if we can get some real gas in here and get rid of the water. Looks like good gas going in. It's nice and clean. But you know what? Never trust anyone's fuel, ever. Oh, I can see the water going in there. There's a lot of water. I can see it. So, shake it around a little bit. There's water, there's dirt, there's all kinds of stuff in there. Alright. And what's left in Mr. Funnel, that's water. There's tons of water in there. So I'm going to throw that out. And right now, that whatever in there, I'm gonna do it again, but I'm not gonna do it right now. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna seal it up so no air gets in there. I'm gonna see if anything settles to the bottom. I'm gonna put it on the shelf, see what settles. But look at that, guys. Does that look like gasoline to you? I don't know, it looks kind of cruddy to me. Oh, there's a little bit of water in the bottom. So Mr. Funnel, I don't know, Mr. Funnel. See that? There's a little bit of water on the bottom. So, I don't know, Mr. Funnel. See what happens. But a little bit, something got through. Maybe it's not water, maybe it's oil or something. It's amber color. Looks like water. All I know is the density is less than gas. So I'll put that aside, I'll see what settles out, and then we'll come back and show you. Okay guys, I cleaned out the tank. If you look inside, you can see basically it is bone dry. Bone dry. Cleaned it out, blew it out, nice and clean. So now we're going to install it with a new fuel line and get back to the getting this thing going. All right, so I'll put you back over here. Bert, where are you? There we go. We'll be back to you in a minute. All right, guys, we're back. Now we're gonna put on the air filter housing, all that. New air filter, pre-filter. What I cleaned out the carburetor, the jet, all that. New fuel line, tank's all clean now, so that's beautiful. The gasket on the carburetor is good. There's nothing wrong with it, so I'm going to put the air box back on. Put the breather hose in first. Make sure you do that. A lot of people forget. Start with the 2 carb screws. Get them started by hand. Once you get those started, you should be good to go. I always start them by hand, 1 or 2 threads, just to know they're going. Okay. Once I know they're good, a couple threads. Get the one up in the corner. Started a couple threads. What I do is I tighten these 2 first, and then I'll tighten the one in the corner, because these 2 you want to tighten good on that gasket so you get a good seal on that. Okay, so a little bit by hand. Not too tight, because you could deform the plastic base. It's just plastic. All right, so nice and snug on that gasket. Gasket was good. Again, torque wrench right here. Tighten it down, not too tight. Just enough to seal. Okay. And this one here actually has a heat shield or some kind of shield on top. Oh, it's the shield that shows you what to do with the choke. It's got the choke decal on it. So that goes on here on these 2 screws. 1 screw in the front, 1 screw in the back. One in the front and 1 in the back. Again, 5/16. Just do it by hand. I could use the impact, but you know what? If you use the impact, you may break them. These are small screws. Okay, we're good. So now, brand new air filter, pre-filter. Buy them in bulk. They're about $2. Install the pre-filter into the housing, the cover. Stick the filter on there. This one here, this shoots in the way, so it's kind of difficult to put this in. So what I'll do is I'll start it, then I'll shove the filter in, because otherwise it's going to be a pain in the butt to get it in there. All right, now that that's in, make sure the housing is good and in. There you go. Start the 5/16 screw. Okay, now this one here, it barely had any oil in it, so I'm going to have to put oil in it to start it first. So I'm going to throw some oil in it, check it, throw some fuel in it, get it started. Once everything looks and runs good, I'll change the spark plug out, and we'll go from there. So right now, as you can see, there's nothing on that dipstick. Good thing it didn't start. Thank God it didn't start. He would have blown it. All right. I've got about 12 ounces in here. Usually these things take 19 ounces. So I'm going to throw most of it in there. See what happens, because right now, like I said, it was barely on the dipstick. Let's see if we can get it up. Not charging the customer that much for this. I'm making money. I'm doing okay. But like I said, he works with me. He's a good guy, and you know, I help my friends out too. So, always help your friends out. But don't give away the ranch every time. You know, you got to make some money too. But you know what? Karma, friendship, it's worth a lot. So they can go to a dealer and pay $100 an hour. They could pay you 30 or 40 bucks an hour, depending. You know, and they're glad to. They're glad to help a friend. Okay, all right, right to the top, perfect. All right, it's got the old plug in it. Should I keep it in there? You know what? It's easier to change a plug when it's cold. So I'm gonna grab a new plug. Easier to do it when it's cold. Now usually I'll use Champion or NGK spark plugs, especially on lawnmowers, the J19LM that everybody uses. But for some reason, I used to get them at Walmart. Walmart always had them for $1.79. You know, you're charging the customer $3 or whatever. You know, your time and effort's worth something too. This is the original plug because it has the paint on it still. Oh, get back in here. Original plug, you could tell, oh my gosh, look at that. Not even tight. Oh my gosh. Oh, you know why? I bet you the guy squirted some fuel in there when he went to run it. Yeah, the original Briggs plug with the Briggs logo on it. It says Champion with the Briggs logo, that's original. So, Walmart, I don't think they're selling the Champion plug anymore. They're selling the Autolite plug, and I like Autolite. Autolite's a good plug. And the plug that replaces the J19LM is a 458. So we're gonna try it out. And I just so happen to have in my pocket a gapping tool. These, you always gap the plugs to 30. So let's see. And it's right on the money. So let's get that in there. Tighten it down again. My arms are calibrated torque wrenches. One thing you gotta remember, it's got a washer on, a crush washer. It's gonna feel like it's going like it's stripping, but it's not, it's crushing that washer. Once the washer crushes, you'll feel it. So you go in there, now you feel it, okay? Usually 10 foot-pounds on these, but I do it by hand. So we got a new spark plug, new air filter, new pre-filter, new fuel line. We're gonna put new fuel in it. We got new oil in it. You know what, guys? I think it's time to put fuel in, and let's see if she runs. She's gonna run, but let's see anyway. Now the needle and seat in this carburetor did not leak before. I didn't touch the needle and seat. I'm just putting good fuel in, so hopefully now she'll be good to go. Okay, almost a full tank of fuel, because I'm going to use this puppy. I got leaves in my driveway that I want to suck up and shred. I'm going to wait a second. I'm going to see if anything leaks out, because a leaking needle and seat is not what you want. So I'll wait a second. I'll put it on full throttle. I'll put the choke on. Let's wait 30 seconds to see if we have any fuel leaks. And if we're good to go, I'm gonna pull that sucker. All right, and then we're gonna see what we got. And I'm hoping it runs good and everything's good, because then I can call the customer up and say, pay me, and I can make some money. All right, let's get the bag hooked up. This switch, one thing I noticed here you go, guys. This switch on the bag is bent. He had the kill wire for this switch disconnected, and I'm assuming because this is bent and it wouldn't make full contact with the switch. So I'm going to go get a pair of pliers and I'm going to bend it back. And I guarantee you that's why he had this kill wire disconnected. But this being bent, see, right now, it was never making the switch. So let's take it off, bend it correctly. Because if that switch isn't made, it kills your coil, it shuts it off so you don't shoot stuff at you. It's a safety. So let's bend this down the way it's supposed to be. Now we go on, we pull back on the springs, it's all the way down. Look at that, baby, all the way down. That switch is made, it'll never be not made. It's down, it's good. Keep this on, now the safeties are working. We got oil, we got fuel, spark plug, air filter, pre-filter. Let's try it out. There's a bunch of smoke coming from the muffler. It looks like it's just stuff on the outside of the muffler. So I'm going to let it cool off. I'll spray it on the muffler with some brake cleaner. And I'm going to get my tachometer and I'm going to check the RPM because it sounded a little high. I want to make sure I check that. But all this stuff here, the muffler, it definitely has oil on it. And hopefully the engine's good and it's not blowing oil. It's just the stuff residue on the outside. But I'm going to let it cool off. I'm going to clean off that muffler and then we'll try her again. Be back in a few minutes, guys. All right, guys, back on this chipper shredder. It started up fine. I cleaned everything off. It started up fine, ran for about 30 seconds, then started going bat, 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 bat. It just wasn't running right, and then it died and it wouldn't start again. Well, I took the carburetor apart and the float bowl was the float itself was hanging too far up. All right. So I said, okay, the needle, the seat itself is probably just swollen. Someone probably cleaned it with carb cleaner. But then I look inside and you can see, yeah, it looks pretty swollen. So I'm going to take it out, a little bit of junk in there. I'll clean that out, but you can see that seat's pretty swollen. So I'm going to replace the seat. That should only take a couple minutes. Let me replace the seat and I'll be right back. All right, guys, here's some sure signs that the guy's been in this carburetor. You can see he did a cleaning job, but he didn't do too well. You can see all kinds of dirt on that float. You can see all kinds of corrosion on the carburetor. He didn't clean that off too well. And look at this, the needle. It's all covered with corrosion. So I think the guy who owned this piece of equipment took the carburetor off, but he didn't realize when he shot carburetor onto this seat, it was going to swell it up. And you could see that seat's all swollen up. Look at that. It's all swollen. See that? all buggered up, swollen up. When it swells up, that float rests too high and it doesn't allow enough fuel into the carburetor, and that's what causes those problems. So I'm going to clean all this up again, put it back together, and let's see how she runs. Okay, I cleaned off the float, blew it off, got it nice and clean. Here's the needle and seat for the Briggs Quantum, part number 398188. You can see it's the red seat and the new needle. So I'll be putting that in, and what I normally do is I'll use a drill bit and I'll stick the seat in. Now remember, these seats only go in the one way. You can see on that one, there's a side with rings around it and there's a side with no rings. The smooth side is this side here. You can see the smooth side. That's the side that goes up. If you look on the other side, there's rings around there. That side goes down. If you do it backwards, it won't seal. You want the smooth side out. All right, so I put a little bit of oil around the seat. I push it in with a drill bit, stick the float on, and let's see what we got. And if you still don't believe me about the seat swelling, look at a stock seat on the bottom and a stock needle, and look at the one that's been exposed to carburetor cleaner. Look how swollen that is. When it swells that much because of carb cleaner, it actually raises the float, so it doesn't allow enough fuel into the carburetor. And the biggest culprit I found, gum out and STP carb cleaner. This stuff here, for some reason, STP is worse, but gum out too. This stuff, whatever's in it, whether it be acetone or ketone or whatever, it likes to swell the rubber. So if you're gonna clean a carburetor, either plug off the hole where the jet is somehow, or where the seat is, plug it off, or just know that you're gonna replace the needle and seat after you clean it. Best to just take it out and replace it. The kits are around $4. It's not too bad. But look at the before and after when you have carb cleaner on it. It really swells. All right, guys, be right back. No, guys, this is the carb that keeps giving. Look at the float pin, it's bent. I wonder if the float was even working properly. I tried to press it in, it didn't want to press in. Unbelievable, all the issues. This guy didn't know what the heck he was doing. A bent float pin. How the hell do you bend a float pin? All right, be right back. All right, guys, now you can see with the proper new seat installed, float pin was straightened out. It's a nice level, little bit up, but pretty much level float. The other one, when it had the old seat in it, was like this. And it wasn't allowing enough fuel in. So I'm gonna take this carb, I'm gonna put it back together, and hopefully we'll have a decent running engine. Be back shortly. All right, guys, whenever I put a Quantum back together, good, bad, or indifferent, I always put a new carburetor gasket for the air cleaner. These are very simple. They only go on one way. There's pins to hold them. There's actually pins. You just push them on, push on the pins, and that way you'll get a good seal. And another thing too, scrape off all the old gasket material that's on your carburetor. This carburetor itself has a manual choke, so I don't have to worry about it sealing. But underneath here, that orifice underneath there, right there, is where when you have a primer bulb, the air comes out here, goes into a corresponding hole in the carburetor. Normally this one's plugged up, see right there? That hole is usually in there for when it has the primer system, and it'll blow air into the carburetor and shoot fuel into the carb as a primer. This one doesn't have it, it's blocked off. But good gaskets are necessary if you want primers to work, but I just still want a good seal on the air box. All right, let's throw it together. I did, like I said, the carburetor worked out great. The needle and seat worked out, cleaned everything up. But what I also did, these Quantums are prone to needle and seat leaks. So I put a new fuel line in and a fuel shutoff. They're hard to get to because it's hard to reach in there. But basically I wanted to put a fuel shutoff in here just in case, that way when he stops using it, turn the fuel off. It'll be a little bit of a pain to reach in there, but it's better to have these on the Quantums, you know, especially when people put stuff in the gas tank, like fuel injector cleaner and stuff like that that swells up the seat. Don't play with the fuel. The regular fuel is regular fuel. Just use it. Don't use any of those stupid additives in there. I mean, yeah, seafoam and stuff, yeah, it's good, but does it swell the seat? I don't know. All I know is when the seats swell, these things are no good. But like I said, here's a project. This guy's going to be coming over soon. The yard machine's 3-in-1. He's going to be happy as a clam. It did have some smoke coming out of the muffler, but it was just residual burning off on there. So that's all done. So another happy customer. I made some money. We'll go on to the next one. Okay, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Just one more thing that I do. When I give customers back equipment, you know, you wipe them down, you make them look nice and all, but I also give them oil. Normally, an engine like this takes about 20 ounces of oil, so there's about 12 ounces left in the container. Give them the rest of the container, okay? It's a good value-added thing for a small engine shop to do. That way, you keep telling them, check it every time. And that way, if they check it and they need a little bit, they're not gonna say, well, what do I use? You give it to them. It doesn't cost you anything. You worked it into the bill. It was the oil that you used. So be a value-added small engine guy. Give them what's left in the bottle of oil. They'll thank you for it when they need it. All right, guys, talk to you soon.